Before this video gets started, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who is new to the channel. It's seen insane growth recently, so thank you. As the amusement industry is mostly self-regulated, the tragedy on Mindbender at Galaxyland in 1986 saw major changes to the industry in the US, Canada, and many parts of Europe that have prevented any similar accidents from occurring in these countries. As the industry grew safer in these parts of the world, the same could not be said for other parts, such as parts of East Asia, Southern North America, and South America, as they did not have a very large amusement industry when the Mindbender tragedy occurred. Combine this with a lack of international cooperation in the amusement industry regarding safety from these regions, and you had a recipe for disaster. This building disaster unfolded on September 28, 2019. On September 27th, just one day prior to this accident, most roller coaster enthusiasts were occupied, grieving the news that Kings Island was to remove Vortex. Little did they know what would happen just one day later in Mexico. Quimera is a steel looping coaster made by West German manufacturer Schwarzkopf. The ride was the first in the world to feature 3 vertical loops, and it was designed by famed roller coaster designer Werner Stingel, who would go on to design the equally infamous Mindbender based on this coaster 1 year later. This ride has quite the history, first debuting on the German fair circuit as dryer looping starting in 1984 before being relocated to the Malaysian park Sunway Lagoon in 1997. It then moved back across the world to the United Kingdom, where it operated at Flamingo Land as Magnum Force from 2000 to 2005. In 2007, it arrived at what is likely to be its final home at La Feria Chapultepec Magico in Mexico City. In its new home, the ride ran faster than it had at its prior locations because La Feria Chapultepec Magico ran the ride with the trim brakes turned completely off. Trim brakes are brakes on the ride course designed to slow a train down if it's running too fast. I have a theory as to why they did this, but we'll get to that later. The ride was operating as normal around 1:30 p.m. on September 28, 2019. A fully loaded train dispatched from the station and climbed up the lift as normal. The train traversed the first half of the layout without any issues. When the train was exiting the third and final loop, the fifth car's right wheel assembly detached from the main axle. As the train began to traverse an upward sloping, banked right turn, the remaining left wheel assembly on the fifth car, having nothing to brace it laterally, fell off the tracks as the rest of the train turned right. This now free-flying car, still being pulled by the rest of the train, was flung into a support beam for the coaster, causing car 5 to be torn from the rest of the train. Car 5 then fell to the ground. Unlike Mindbender, all of its lap bars stayed locked. However, due to the erratic forces exerted on the riders during the derailment, some or all of them were flung from the car. 2 of the riders in car 5 were unfortunately killed. 2 luckily survived. The rest of the train valleyed at the next low-to-the-ground turn due to the loss of speed caused by car 5's violent derailment. Riders in this part of the train were left with minor injuries, though it was nearly even worse, as post-accident photos show that car 4's left wheel assembly was severely damaged by car 5's derailment. This accident was captured on video. I'm not going to show that here, but there is a link in the description if you are interested. An investigation was launched immediately, and Mexican officials called in help from the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions and the National Association of Amusement Ride Safety officials. These are both well-respected international groups concerned with amusement ride safety. On October 14, 2019, they revealed their findings. They determined that Quimera had been operating outside of conditions set by its manual. Apparently, over the years of its operation, it had gone from running 3 trains to just 1, and this singular train was sort of a Franken-train, being made out of all the good parts of the other trains. Many of the wheel assemblies, including the one that failed, were not branded and had no serial numbers, meaning that they were not made by Schwarzkopf. In Mexico, this is not illegal like it is in many US states, but it was still out of compliance with the manual. In fact, if you look at this photo of Quimera from 2012, you'll see a different color wheel assembly used on one car of the train. The manual itself was also found to be lacking information, as only parts of it remained, and it had been translated from German to English and then to Spanish. The post-accident inspection also revealed other problems throughout the ride, including cracks in the track and trains, as well as weakness in the structure itself, specifically in the first loop. This could be noticed when watching the ride. At its old location in the UK, the loop barely moved at all when the train moved through it, but months before the accident, the first loop had a significant amount of movement. Now, roller coasters are designed to move and sway when a train traverses them, but Quimera was swaying way too much. As you're aware, the main cause of this accident was the failure of car 5's right wheel assembly. A wheel assembly is a set of wheels that, in conjunction with another wheel assembly on the other side of the car, holds the car to the track. Quimera's wheel assemblies were intended by Schwarzkopf to be attached to the main axle by 3 bolts, 2 of which are the same size and 1 of which is a different size. Feria Chapultepec Magico either did not use all 3 bolts or used the wrong bolts, and this combined with the extreme vibrations endured by the wheel assemblies due to the ride running faster than designed, caused Car 5's right wheel assembly to detach from the axle. Here is my theory as to why the ride was running so fast at Feria Chapultepec Magico, and keep in mind this is only a theory and has not been confirmed. In this footage you can see the ride at Feria Chapultepec Magico, and you can see a staircase leading up to the ride's block brakes. Block brakes are brakes that can stop a train if the next section of track is occupied. These are in place so that the ride can run multiple trains like it was originally designed to. In this older footage from when the ride was at Flamingo Land, you can see there was only a small ladder leading up to the block brakes. This was clearly not designed for evacuating a train if the control system was ever to encounter an error and stop a train here for a long period of time. When the ride was built at Feria Chapultepec Magico, this staircase was added. My theory is that the ride's control system was starting to show its age and began getting more and more faults and stopping trains in these block brakes. Perhaps Feria Chapultepec Magico, tired of having to evacuate trains from these brakes, disabled them or removed them altogether so they didn't have to undergo the expensive process of replacing the control system for the ride. This would make sense, as shortly after the ride arrived in Mexico, it started operating with only 1 train. Again, that's only my theory, but there is some evidence to back it up. After the conclusion of this investigation, Feria Chapultepec Magico's operators were charged with homicide. To my knowledge, that trial is still ongoing. Since this accident, Mexican amusement parks, even proven safe ones like Six Flags Mexico, have seen a 30% drop in attendance. The Mexican public has spoken with their wallets as to what they want changed. I urge anyone involved in the Mexican roller coaster industry who may be watching this video to be as involved as possible in bringing your amusement rides up to IAAPA safety standards so that once all this virus stuff is over, people can go back to Mexican amusement parks with confidence and enjoy them safely. For anyone out there watching this video who has a fear of roller coasters because of this accident or not, I encourage you not to be. I do these videos to clear up misinformation spread online about the few accidents that have happened, not to spread fear. Riding a roller coaster is one of the safest activities you can enjoy. Accidents like this deserve to be remembered and thought about so others can avoid the mistakes that caused them. Hopefully, this accident has the same lasting impact that the Mindbender accident had, and hopefully, we never see an accident like this again.